All right, we are back here on the Sky Guys podcast, getting ready to talk about episode 4 of season 1 of The Acolyte, titled Day. One of your hosts, Mike Phillips. Normally, you hear Pete Consadori's voice at the top of the podcast, but Bazil led in the wrong direction in this episode, so he is not with us today. But with us, as always, here, the official tracker of the podcast, Nick Fraietta, is here. Nick, how are you?
Doing really well. This was, I guess, the mid-season finale. I
Yep.
guess so. So we're halfway done with the Acolyte already. It's crazy how fast these shows go, and second half coming up.
And fun fact, Nick, that this was the last episode that the critics saw before the season starts. They said the first 4, so this is what all the Rotten Tomato scores are based off of. This first 4 episodes.
Oh, very interesting. I didn't know that.
Yep. Also here with us today to take the guest spot this week here. He's about to get flicked away by May's master over there with the Force. Max Rowers is here. Max, how are you?
Good, Mike. Happy to be back talking about the show. Also, I did not, I knew that the critics saw more episodes than we'd seen. I didn't realize it was only 4. That seems like there's a little bit of a disconnect there, but we'll get into it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it, get to the predictions next week, but I do feel like this is a spot where there's a big twist coming next week. They didn't want to spoil it with the critics.
I assume not, but I'm still kind of shocked that they thought the show was as good as it was after these 4 episodes. But we'll talk.
Yeah, and Max, what do you think? What do you think about this show thus far?
Eh, like, do I think that it is as bad as some of the audience scores suggest on Rotten Tomatoes? No, it's not atrocious, but it's just kind of boring. Like, I don't really know much of where it's going. I'm hoping that they're setting up something interesting, and I felt like this past episode they were. So I'm kind of trying to reserve my judgment until the end. But the ride to get there is very slow. I think the other thing is like the High Republic is supposed to be the peak of the Jedi, right? Everyone is at peace, everything is great. The Jedi are at the height of their power. But it's 100 years before the Empire.
Yeah.
And yet everything just looks like the Phantom Menace. I don't even care if you want to say the Jedi are flawed or whatever, I get it. But like I feel like I could just watch the prequel trilogy and it's the same. And I wonder why they didn't do more with the setting and the differences in technology and trying to make things look older or different. Like, okay, the Jedi are wearing different color robes, cool. But I don't feel like they're going far enough with the setting. So I'm skeptical of where it's gonna go, but I'm trying to reserve judgment. Right now, I'm just like it's fine. Other than the last week's episode. Last week's episode was terrible.
Yeah, you and Nick are in agreement on that one.
Yeah, I don't think I thought it was as bad as Nick does, but it wasn't good. I just was like, this was, why did they just weave in that exposition throughout the rest of the series? Why did it all need to be hammered into 30 minutes of slog?
All right, so we'll talk more about some of our general thoughts as we get to the grade section of the episodes here. But I'll tell you, Max, since Pete's not here, I'll mention you can subscribe to us on the Sky Guys on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, Spotify, Amazon, all usual suspects. Simply search for the Sky Guys, your favorite podcast platforms, and find episodes there. And friends in the Justice of the Suffering, if you wait until the weekend to get these episodes, make sure you guys subscribe. You want them on time. It's basically the night Max, Nick, and I are recording.
I am subscribed on Apple Podcasts, and I'd encourage everyone else to do the same.
Yep. And Nick, if you want to follow us on social media, how can they do that?
You can follow at Sky Guys Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, Threads, and TikTok.
Yeah, and something new we're gonna do here, Nick. Like I'm gonna we're getting a lot of engagement on these Acolyte reels. I'm gonna pull the comment of the week from the social media. So I'm gonna share it right here. This is in response to our discussion about creating the children. This is from on TikTok from Skeptical Pumpkin. If the witches did use the Force to create the twins, it's not a lore break. Anakin is a virgin of the Force, meaning he was created by the Force alone. The twins were created by a Force user. The adds also, we have no idea how or where Plagueis learned or discovered the ability to create life, but stealing Force techniques from other traditions is something Sith are known for doing. So, Nick, does this influence your thoughts at all?
My thoughts weren't really strong to begin with, so no. I was in the middle beforehand. I'm in the middle now.
Yeah.
Good points here. I think Mr. Pumpkin is saying things that seem true. I don't have a problem with anything he's saying, but I never really had a problem with the way it was portrayed in the episode either, so nothing changes for me.
Max, did you have any issue with the line last week? And I know there was a lot of rage on the internet about how this is breaking canon. I don't necessarily think it does.
I don't know that it breaks canon. I mean, uh, we know that Anakin Skywalker was conceived via the Force, but we never really know how that happened.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's not necessarily inconsistent if it was some weird Sith religion thing or some witches thing. I thought the issue was more Anakin's supposed to be this special random once in a blue moon type thing. And so if there was a history of people being created through the Force that kind of disrupts Anakin's role in the overall Star Wars mythos, as opposed to just that someone could also be created in a different way.
Yeah, well, I'd say I look at Skeptical Pumpkin's point and sort of say, hey, okay, like if Anakin's the only one created by the Force itself, that's fine with me. Whereas that the witches are doing things on their own to extend their own families, sure, like that's different to me. That's good enough. Well, see if it sticks. But we'll also mention here, Max, that you can check out the YouTube version, Mike Phillips on YouTube. You can see our fun face, our react. I do have some props here today. So,
All right,
Nick, we got the Star Wars Oreos here today. So
I got them too.
yeah, we're gonna do an official unboxing here. We're gonna predict here. So is it a light side pack or a dark side pack, Max?
I'm just gonna guess it's dark.
I was going to guess light.
All
So,
right. We're
one
gonna
each.
we're gonna open it up here and I see red, so Nick is correct.
I just said that because the only people I know have gotten light. So you're one of the first I know to get dark.
Yeah, we got the Palpatine cookie. Here's the first one I pulled out.
Ooh.
I haven't opened mine yet. I just peeked inside to see what color I got, and I got the light side, and I haven't dug in yet.
Yeah, so I got a dark side pack. So I don't know what it says about me, but
Is it just vanilla with like red and blue food coloring? Is that the
Yeah,
only?
there's no difference in the flavoring.
I was thinking
Gotcha.
it's just the cookies, the cream's the same, but the difference is basically that they put the character faces on the cookie. So and they tell you to collect them, but as Pete and Nick and I discussed a few weeks ago, that seems impractical.
Yeah, I don't know how you preserve them.
For me, it's through
Sure, there's a way, but I'm not spending the money to preserve Oreos.
I'm preserving them through pictures. That's how I'm collecting.
Yeah.
All right, Nick, let's get to our Star Wars, because then we have some stuff to discuss.
Sure, we have a lot, so we're gonna go through. We're gonna rifle through them pretty quickly. First is Dave Filoni says that he has completed planning of the opening of the Mandoverse movie. That's the movie coming out, I believe, in 28. Is that correct?
I believe 28, yes.
2028. That's the first thing. So we'll quickly move on to the second one. We can open in discussion to some of more of the larger items. Second is that Dave Filoni says that he still reaches out to George Lucas for thoughts on very important story ideas, and the door is always open if George wants to produce a Star Wars project, which I know a lot of people would enjoy.
Yeah, Max would too.
I feel like didn't he produce the Clone Wars, or not the Clone Wars, like the prequel trilogy, and people were sort of iffy about it.
He directed the entire.
Directed it.
I'm not sure if he produced everything. But obviously he wrote everything, but he directed the entirety of the prequels, which people didn't like his directing. People always enjoyed his story, though.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Next, Sean Levy, who is the director of the upcoming Deadpool movie, Deadpool and Wolverine, says his Star Wars movies in development. I'm not even taking this stuff seriously for now. All right, if your movie's in development, let's see it on a stage announced by Disney or Star Wars or whatever. So we'll see. Next is Bryce Dallas Howard, who is involved in Skeleton Crew, right?
She directed an episode.
Yeah, she said that Jon Favreau was on set every day when she worked on it, and has a good relationship and has a good working relationship with showrunner John Watts from their time working on the MCU Spider-Man films together, because Jon Favreau was in it. I'm not sure if he was involved in any of the making of those movies. I don't think so. I think he was just playing happy.
Yeah, I'll point out here, I think this is worth discussing, noting here quick, Max, if you look at the fact that Favreau, who runs the whole Mandoverse, basically was there as much as Bryce Dallas Howard says he was, says that I think we need to have bigger expectations of this show in the Mandoverse than it was just John Watts doing his own thing.
Or it's just sort of assuage fans like, hey, this will be good. The guys that you like are heavily involved in the show. They're making sure that it's good. But it could.
All right.
Next is in the same interview with Bryce Dallas Howard, she said she'd like the opportunity to direct her own Star Wars movie or show or whatever it may be. She's happy to contribute to other people as well. And she's been directing in Star Wars for a while now. She did a couple of Mandalorian episodes, I think. I'm not sure what else. She's been involved a lot.
She did Boba Fett. I think she did Ahsoka too, I'm pretty sure. So
And yeah. All right. Lastly, is the big piece of news. It's still a rumor at this point. It hasn't been officially confirmed, but it's more or less been leaked at this point that the Rey movie in 2026 had been rebranded and is now called Star Wars Episode 10: A New Beginning.
yeah, so the rumor is that they decided to make this an episode of the
At this point, it's in between a rumor and being a fact. It's a leak at this point where people are. It's not even. It's not like a little rumor that's going around. It's been leaked. Hasn't been confirmed by Disney or Star Wars yet, but Star Wars Episode 10: A New Beginning, following Rey's building of the Jedi Order.
Max. To me, this feels like Disney testing the waters here, see how the audience reacts if this is an episode 10.
Are they going to do like a whole new trilogy, like a 10, 11, 12, or are they just saying this is 10, that's it, now we have 10 movies?
I think it's to be determined, because I know that Daisy Ridley did an interview and said right now she's only committed to one, but she's open to more.
Yeah, I think they're going to go in with one and see how it does, and if it makes the money they want, they'll turn it into a trilogy. If it doesn't, it'll just be a movie.
Yeah.
Well, they're trying to redo a lot of the like. I guess what I always felt like was they were trying to redo the expanded universe of Luke building the new Jedi Order, and just Mark Hamill was too old, so now they need to do it with Rey.
Yeah.
So I assume if they want to do a trilogy, there's material there.
Yeah. So it might be just, we're going to see if the audience buys in before we can say, oh, this is a trilogy.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about this, and to me, there's one thing that could potentially make this pretty good.
Okay.
Is that we're assuming, based on everything that we've seen in the sequel trilogy and with Mandalorian and whatnot, that in the big Mandoverse movie, Thrawn loses and they all win. Maybe Thrawn, to me, that could make it okay. Maybe Thrawn wins and he's the main villain of that movie. And for whatever reason, they can make it up. Why?
Where he's gone.
That would be somewhat intriguing to me if Thrawn's the villain.
So basically, you're saying like if like for some reason like Thrawn wins, but like somebody he just disappears again, and he shows back up at this time period.
Yeah, then maybe that would be exciting, because I feel like if you bring in a new villain, like who cares?
Yeah.
Like I feel like you have to have some stakes, or else people aren't going to really care. Like especially if you're calling it episode 10. If it's its own side story, sure, go ahead, have your own new villain. But if it's episode 10, I feel like it needs to relate to the other episodes.
Well, we'll see what happens there. Is that it for the news?
You can't repeat the same villain over and over.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right. So I do agree. We did the Palpatine stuff over and over again, Max, but let's get to this episode here. General thoughts here on Day, which is the fourth episode. I'd say a tight 32 minutes before credits here, because it's the shortest episode of the series thus far. Nick, what'd you think about what we got this week?
This episode was very in the middle to me. There was a lot. It was a great breath of fresh air after last week. I think it was much better, but I don't think it really lived up to being a great episode. And there were a lot of things in this episode that really frustrated me. But overall, at the end of the day, when it comes to this show and the story they're building, I'm very intrigued. I'd like to know more, and I'm interested in the mysteries, and that's good. But overall, as an episode, there's a lot of glaring weaknesses.
Yeah, Max, to me, the thing that bothered me this episode, it felt like that, like, we did all the setup in this episode for the rest of the season, and like we sort of chopped right at the most interesting moment here, which I think to me says that like if you went back after the season's over and watched this on a binge, this episode plays better than it would now. Just sitting on its own, you have to wait 7 days, find out what happens with this big fight.
Yeah, I had to like rewind and fast forward my TV 5 times to be like, wait, that's what you're gonna end on? Because that to me was it made me very excited about the rest of the series, but the whole build up to there again was just kind of like boring. It was like what really happened? They walked through a jungle and they tried to find this Wookiee Jedi, and then the most exciting moment, it's over. It's crazy.
Yeah,
so,
That was
Fine.
almost like the Sopranos cut the black, Nick, basically, with the way the episode.
Yeah, very unhappy with that. The pacing of actually, ironically, I think 3 is the worst episode we've seen. I think 3 is the worst episode we've seen of any live action Star Wars, but 3 is the only one that had good pacing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure here. So let's get into some of the plot threads here for the episode. So I think I'm gonna try and split this up the best I can between the Kofar stuff with Kelnacca and May and Kymir, and then the Jedi and the Soul Patrol. I'm calling the Jedi team basically on the other side. So we stole that term from Star Wars here, but we do
like it.
see you see that Kelnacca right now, Max, like he's living the Yoda style life on Kofar, where he's got like he's basically living in a hut. He's kind of doing his own thing. He's hunting his own food. Though the one thing I noticed here is that like he's got those like symbols from the witches last week in the background of his part of his little hut here, which makes you wonder, sort of like Torben did a couple weeks ago. It's like he's sort of like lingering on what happened on Brandock all those years ago.
Yeah, there's obviously something deeper going on with what happened on that planet with those 4 Jedi. Because Torben is like in meditation for 20 years, and Kelnacca has all these symbols. And I'm sure that we will see that throughout the rest of the series. But right now, it seems to be they're all kind of connected, and Soul is maybe the only one that's exempt from it.
Nick, what do you think about what we saw about how Kelnacca was living? And we learned later in the episode, basically, like as soon as you're supposed to be outposted on this planet Kofar, and then like basically he got there, went in the woods, and was never seen again.
It's insulting to me as a viewer
Yeah.
because hopefully I'm wrong, but it's so obvious. They just killed all the witches because they were training kids behind their back.
Yeah.
And they're all playing the guilt for it. Like we're gonna sit here for 7 episodes now and say, what happened? And they show us in the end. We all know what happened. Maybe I'm wrong. That'd be great, but it's insulting because it looks like, oh, we're writing the show for a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
That's why you have to think that there's something more going on than just the Jedi killed everybody, because otherwise that's not really.
There's so many things in the show that are like that where I'm like, it can't be. That's too easy. It's too easy. And if it all ends up being that easy, this show's a disaster.
Yeah.
Right.
So we'll see though, because I'm not ready to call the show a disaster yet. I'm ready to say that episode 3 was a disaster, but I'm not ready to say the show was a disaster. I'm ready to say that this show has me intrigued so far.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think there's definitely with Max there. I think there's more to this, especially like we got the hints, especially I think in episode 3 when Coral controls Torben's mind for a minute. I wouldn't be shocked if that somehow plays into like what happens with the Jedi and the witches.
Or there's something with the Sith Lord.
Yeah.
Are you positive there's something more? Based on the same company that in the sequel trilogy made it so the big twist was that the bad guy turns good, which was the exact same twist as it was in the original trilogy. Are you positive that there's something more? Because I don't think there is anymore.
Well, not positive, but isn't this person who's directing it? She's supposed to be like a big Star Wars aficionado. She's like first of all.
I'm also basing it on like her work with Russian Doll, where there was always like it looked like one thing, and you peel another layer back, and there's another thing you didn't see coming. So,
was she the director of Russian Doll?
She was the showrunner for Russian Doll.
Oh, that's why that explains where York comes from, because he's one of the main characters in Russian Doll.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of what's going on here, we do see that May and Kymir show up on Kofar. Kymir says he's been there before, which is sort of like Nick said a couple weeks ago, like, does this seem like, something's up with Kymir? He's not just like whatever he's been here for. And Kymir basically plants to see earlier there's an episode that like, hey, I know you're avenging your sister. Your sister's alive, but we still have to uphold this deal, which to me sort of gave me like big, like bling, bling, like Kymir's up to something, and he's not as Nick was right. I think he's not as innocent as like he's portraying himself in this whole thing.
This is another one where I feel like it's insulting to me as the viewer. I think it's painfully obvious that he's the Sith, but I think it's too obvious. That one's like, that would be bad. That would be like insane. That would be ridiculous if he was the Sith, because it's so obvious. He's like pushing her into saying things. He's like, so why does your master want you to kill a Jedi without a weapon? Like, is it like playing dumb so he can hear it from her? You know what I mean? Because he's trying to treat like training her on the move, if you will. That one, it's too obvious. Oh, he gets hanging up at the end of the episode and the guy appears. Conveniently, he's not there. Like it's too easy. That one can't be right. It has to be a red herring. Has to be.
I feel
I
like
don't think he's the Sith Lord either. I think it's like he's affiliated. Maybe he's like he works with them, but he can't be the Sith Lord. I would not buy that.
like that would be like a show ruiner for me. Like if he's the Sith Lord, I feel like that I think we would tease so much about this menacing guy who has the teeth on his mask and so on and so forth. Then it just turns out to be our fake pharmacist. That's I think a very bad
Yeah.
look for this show.
Another thing was when they were talking, she like mentions the master to him. Like, how do you know him? I don't remember the exact line. And he just changed the subject immediately and starts talking about Soul.
Yeah, because he says like, I owe your master something. That's basically what his
It just like changes the subject right away. It's just like I think the show. I don't think it is him, but I think, and I hope not. I think the show wants everyone to think at this point in time that it is him.
Yeah, I think that could be Max. Could be a point where like I know the wording he uses, I owe your master a favor. That's sort of the phrasing he's going with here. I wonder if this is another sort of like Russian doll sort of misdirect where it's like, oh, it looks like it's him, but no, there's something else going on you're not aware of yet.
I'm still holding out hope that the Sith is Darth Plagueis, or like someone that we know in some way. But yeah, I don't think that it's him. I think he's affiliated with the Sith. Obviously, he probably did something for the Sith Lord once upon a time, and maybe it has to do with Mayanosia. But I don't think that it's him. Like it can't be. That's it's too obvious.
Also, don't forget in the trailer for the show, the line he says is "Peace is a lie," which is the first line of the Code of the Sith.
Yes.
So he could be a Sith, but not the Sith.
I don't think either. I just think that the show is doing everything in its power to make you think it's him.
Hmm.
And if they don't pull a twist on us and it is him, wow. Then it's literally written for a 9-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a problem if that happens here. I'll also note here that May has this basically when Chimeras by probing her about why she can't use a weapon, and she reveals basically the whole thing is like the final test from her master because it teaches you like that how hard it is to cross the line of like killing an innocent person. Basically, that's sort of the justification they use to try to get you to like go wherever you're supposed to go and not come back, Nick.
Yeah, it seems like he's trying to push her to that, or the master. Let's just call, we're not going to assume who's who yet. We're saying that the master's trying to push her over that line, and it almost seems that it may be not literal, maybe metaphorical. Like killing them without a weapon means like killing them on the like making them admit fault,
Yeah.
which it
Well, didn't
looks
she already
like
do
at least
that?
one of them did. What's that?
Didn't she already do that? She does that with Torben. Like she
Yeah,
makes him
yeah. Well, I think with all of them, maybe is what he means.
Well, in Dara she used a knife.
In
yes.
Dara, she used a knife. Torben, she had him
Poison.
kill
Yeah, she
himself.
with the
And
poison.
then I don't know who killed the Wookiee. I guess it's a man.
Well,
I guess
it's
the Sith.
we're suing the master. We're suing the master.
Yeah.
Until we get a name for this master, I think we're just gonna call him Darth Shark because he has a shark teeth on his mask.
Sure.
Sure.
But I would assume it was him who killed the Wookiee. I think that's pretty clear. But
Yeah.
we'll see what exactly he means by that. If it's not literal and if it's metaphorical, or because then is poison a weapon?
But she didn't like she made him do it. She used his mind or like her powers of persuasion to make him do it rather than just cutting him down.
She guilt tripped him.
Yeah. That's the way I took it anyway.
Yeah.
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 I do like the cast of like I think the actors of the show between you have the guy from Squid Games, Trinity, and Jason from The Good Place. There is in theory a lot of promise. I wish the script was sometimes better, but like they have a lot of high profile actors doing stuff.
Yeah, there are a lot of high profile actors here. Another thing she mentions here is that like if you, according to the master, if you could just disarm the Jedi, you can use their lightsaber against them, which is something that like we've seen a couple times in the first two fights. She's tried going for the lightsaber. She's hadn't been able to get them.
Yeah, she tries a lot in the Indara fight to grab her lightsaber to use it against her.
Yeah, I know. She at one point she goes in Dara. It's like, oh, you won't take your lightsaber out, and then she pulls it out at the end when she's like trying to like fight all the blades off.
Right.
All right, let's put a pin in the May stuff and go to Coruscant for a bit because we see that Osha basically goes like to Jackie's training says, "Hey, I'm out of here. Thanks for your help." We see like there's a little bond here forming between Osha and Jackie as Padawans of Soul. Nick,
Yeah, it's a little. That's cool.
yeah,
It's like two people who have the same boss at work.
yeah, it's like she quit and now she liked her boss and now she sees the boss's like new like assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will also note here that like, she is planning to skip out of town because she doesn't want to deal with Soul because she feels he's causing a lot of trouble. And the interesting point here, we get this Jedi Temple meeting here, which does not involve the High Council because Vernestra makes it clear that like if we involve them, they have to tell the Senate that we're having Jedi murdered here. So we don't want that. And we get a familiar face here, Max. We get a good old Kiadi Mundis in the meeting.
Yeah, I didn't think like it was the same species. I did not think that it was him until the credits. And then that led me to be like, is he really that old? Like, can Syrians live that old? I don't know that there's any basis for that. But fine, if so, that's a fun cameo, I guess.
Yeah.
But there was a basis for that in Legends, and Legends they lived roughly the same as humans. So in Legends, he wasn't born yet for a number of years, but that hadn't been established in canon, so now it is.
Yeah. So
But he's like an adult. So is he over 100 years old at the time of the prequels?
I guess so.
assuming
Yeah.
we rewrote we rechanged the rules of the series from the legends to like whatever, which is
Yeah,
not.
but it wasn't like a it was never established in canon. It was established in Legends. So it's not really like going back on it. I mean, going back on Legends, sure, but it's not really going back on anything that they've already established in canon.
Yeah, and I'll also note here in terms of Kiadi Mundi's presence here because he's sort of one of the Jedi Masters not on the council who's in the meeting and they talk about, oh, we have to take care of this problem right now because we have to pull Kelnacca from the post and we have to, take care of this situation here. And one thing he mentions here is that, like this could be a splinter cell that uses the dark side, not necessarily Sith here, which is interesting to note here because Max, remember in Phantom Menace when Qui-Gon tells the council about the Sith, Ki-Adi in there says, that's impossible. The Sith haven't been seen for 1,000 years. And I think if you're whining about lore breaks from last week, I think this one is a bigger lore break unless he's lying to the other members of the council.
My friend he showed me a meme and it was sort of a good point that if Kiadi Mundi, let's say he like goes through this whole exercise, he learns about the existence of the Sith lore, these witches who are using the dark side of the Force, and then when Qui-Gon Jinn comes forward with evidence of the Sith, he's like, that's impossible. That's a huge problem. Like, you're really just gonna bury your head in the sand. Like, you could have you knew about the Sith and you knew that they were still alive. You didn't do anything about it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I do agree that's a little bit of a lore break. Or Kiadi Mundi, something happened with him or whatever.
Yeah, Nick, because it's not like Yoda where like they say we're leaving the council out of this and Yoda's on the
Right.
council at this point, where it was like he's there. He should know what's happening because if we think the story's going the way it's going.
I agree, but I'm going to play devil's advocate in that no one really knows about the Sith yet. We just know that May is killing Jedi. They don't know who they don't know they don't even know she's a dark side Force user. They just know that someone who they think she was trained by a Jedi.
They do say that.
So it is possible that he doesn't really know about the existence of the Sith. He just thinks there's someone killing Jedi, and there's a difference there.
I guess it depends on what we figure out later in the series, and more. I'm rushing to judgment there, but yeah, if he
If the
only
council finds out about the Sith,
right,
if you think about it, they didn't know about the Sith until the last 5 seconds of the episode when he shows up, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Or she.
Or they.
It could definitely be the mother who survived.
Could be. I will say this though to wrap this point up here. I do feel like for now it's okay because like again we don't know if we're going to see him again in this show. Maybe he just doesn't find out what happens on this mission and he doesn't break lore that way. But if somebody tells Kiadi Moon the end of the series, oh, we found out what happened with May. It's a Sith Lord, and then he's telling us later, 100 years later, that no, the Sith is impossible. They've been gone for a millennium. That's a problem.
Right.
Yeah, then it's a problem.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead here now to this mission here. Soul basically convinces Vernestra to let him go lead the mission because he figures, hey, I saw this conflict in May and like I can get her back on the good side. We can bring her in peacefully. He goes and he convinces Osha to come help him because he says, "Hey, like, even though like you are like, Osha doesn't think that May can be turned back. Oh, Soul says, hey, she's family, and you don't want to risk passing on the chance to save your family if you can." So, Max, once again, Soul seems to be like a very empathetic guy. He seems to have a clear understanding of what motivates Osha.
Well, yes, except that Osha then later tells Yor, hey, if May can't be turned, you need to kill her. So somewhat. But yeah, he of the the four Jedi that were stationed on the planet, he seems to be the only one that's not disturbed by whatever happened. Or sort of the most in tune with the sisters, and I don't know. It leads me to believe, like, what's his role in all of this? How does he know all of this? Why does she want to kill him if he's the most sympathetic one?
Yeah, it makes you wonder, Nick. Like maybe he wasn't at the fight that ends up happening between them. Maybe he's just running off to find Osha or May.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I believe the rumor on the internet is that episode 7 of this, where we're gonna find out like the other side of that flashback. That's the rumor I've been hearing online.
This episode ends in a way that it would suck, but it would be perfect for the next episode to be a flashback. But I highly doubt that.
I don't think so. You can't do this and go to a flashback. I think you have to pick up with this fight.
The reason, especially why I don't believe that, is because the director who directed this episode is also directing the next episode. So it seems like it's a 2 episode arc.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, we get this Soul Patrol. I'm calling them the task force, which is I think your Jackie, Soul, and then a couple of random Jedi, including one who looks like Plo Koon, but with Star Wars Twitter confirmed he's not Plo Koon, it's just his species. So they're going to Kofar. They find out we talked about earlier here, and they bring this tracker with them, Bazil, who I think is supposed to be the comic relief of the episode here. Max, were you a fan of Bazil?
Yeah, he was funny. I actually, so one thing I did like about this episode is that I think in general they had some of the little bit of like the trademark Star Wars humor, like some slapstick, some like sarcastic comments, and I thought it was funny. It's like, oh, this is a little bit charming.
I agree.
Yeah, Basil got me some points. Like Basil, like he seemed annoying at first, but like I did think like he's fun for what he is. Like he's sort of like he looks like almost like he's the what's it like a chipmunkish kind of guy.
I think that's right.
Yeah, I know. I completely agree. He's great.
Yeah, and we get the point that Max talked about here, where Osha talks to Yor on the side and says, "Hey, like Saul believes May can be turned, but if she can't, you have to finish it." And Yor basically brushed her off, like, "Don't worry about it. We got this. Like, you're fine." So like. Once again, I know the internet loves Yord Max, but I'm not a Yord guy. I'm not in the Yord horde.
I mean, I like him because it's the same guy as Russian Doll, but he does seem like a stick in his butt type Jedi. But he's fine. I don't know. Again, I'm trying to. I really. It's hard for me just based on like how little of the plot has been doled out so far to judge any of these characters and how much I like them or hate them.
Yeah.
Because I don't know enough about them. Maybe that's a problem with the show. Maybe it'll be wrapped up. But it's hard for me to be like I hate someone or I like someone without getting a little bit more of who they are as a character.
Nick, are you out on Yord, or are you giving him a shot here?
I like Yord. I don't love Yord. I like him.
Yord gives me like Jedi Cyril Karn vibes. That's the vibe he gives me.
I love Karn.
Yeah, great character.
Yeah. So
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't do as many stupid things as Karn did.
I was a big Karn fan, so I like Yord then. It's him.
Yeah, and while they're rolling around here, they enter this portion of the forest here, and this looked like Basil called it dark, and this is like felt like very creepy, sort of dark side vibes. You got like the parasites poisoning the trees. One comes and attacks Osha, and Soul has to kill with his lightsaber here. Like this is, I think, a good foreshadow. Like maybe it's where the Masters are hanging out here because like this feels like it's a very like dark part of the forest, Max.
Yeah. That was I guess that was just like a nice little action scene, but the atmosphere was very intimidating. And when the Master eventually swoops in, Darth Shark, it kind of looks like this too.
Yeah.
This was my least favorite part of the episode. There was so much potential in this moment, and they destroyed it. First of all, why did only one attack when they all could have attacked and worked together as a team? And you could have shown off what they're all good at. Like maybe Yor's really good with his lightsaber, and someone else really good with the Force. And you could show Osha like how she hasn't lost a step. She saves someone even though they've had conflict in the past. Why did only one attack? That made no sense to me. And then also, as soon as something cool happens, which it was cool when Soul killed the one of them, right?
Yeah.
As soon as it happened, it wasn't even a second. They immediately made it not cool by saying, "Oh, he's attracted to the light." Like, not Soul. You did a great job. You killed that thing. No, it came right to you. You did nothing. It just came to you. The second something cool happened, don't get too excited. It wasn't cool. He did nothing.
I thought that maybe some of the other boulders on the trees weren't parasites, or like she disturbed one of the parasites, and that's why only one attacked. But I guess you're right. They could have done more with the scene than they actually did.
Yeah,
I
because
just can't believe as soon as something cool happened, they immediately said, "Don't get excited. It wasn't cool."
yeah, I know they made a point of like the one that that OSHA touches, the one that flies away.
That's fair. No, that's fine. But that's fine. It would have been nice if they all attacked. I understand why that one did attack, but taking the moment away like that and saying it was attracted to the light. Why? Why couldn't Soul just do something cool?
Yeah. Yeah, that I don't get. Plus, like I will also mention here, like it does seem like they're setting up a thread of like, remember in the premiere that like OSHA's having trouble, like he tries to reach the force to like summon, like pull something in, she can't. Now she's telling people the other day, so, oh, like I'm starting to sense things again with the force. So like it's sort of like they're starting to, I think they're starting to set up the OSHA might be considering getting back with the Jedi by the end of the season.
Maybe. Would have been nice if maybe one of them saved her life, and that would have been like, oh wow, see, they are good people. If there was a
Oh,
big battle going on with the moth, but nope, we just know moth likes lamp. That's it.
yes.
That's all we got out of that.
It's real life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we gotta go back to May now here because we learned at one point, like when other thing is Kyger being shaved as like we're rushing, he's like, we have to get there for day end. You got 10 minutes left. And May's correctly says, hey, if I'm gonna fight a Wookiee Jedi, I need a rest for a minute. So Kyger goes off to try and like find her some like water. She gets trapped, he gets pulled up in like a rope trap. We don't know if it's Kelnacca's or something May set up here. And this is the moment that Pete Consadori, who could not be on the podcast today, like because he got lost with Bazil, did text me and told me to bring his point up here. Like it seems very quick for her to decide all of a sudden, oh, I'm done with this mission. I'm turning myself in. This feels very rushed.
Agreed. 100%.
Yeah, like you get where she's coming from, where she's like, I'm gonna side with Osha over the Sith. I don't need the Sith anymore. But I do feel like they should have fleshed that out a lot more than they did. And it's like there's a missing episode or a missing scene. Like maybe that would have been really good to talk about instead of like all the shots of them walking through the jungle.
Yeah. I do feel like Nick, there's a scene missing in there. Like maybe like if you had another scene in there with like May and Kyner having a discussion about this, as opposed to Kyner playing a scene, her just thinking about it all episode. Like if they talk through some of these points before he goes and gets the water, maybe that sits a little better here. But I told Pete off the air, this is this show's Roken moment.
This is yeah, it's true, but this is you said a scene missing. I think there's 3 episodes missing for this, and I will give one positive, if you will, is that if the show went on 8 episodes, let's say, and then the big twist at the end was May turns good. Like, how many times have we seen that?
Too many.
That would kind of suck. So I guess if they do it earlier, then maybe we get another twist later. In that sense, maybe it's good. Again, I completely agree. It's ridiculous, but that's the only positive I could think out of it. Is that won't be the big twist now,
Yeah.
or she's lying. I don't know.
I guess we don't know that she's necessarily turning good, right? It's just maybe she thinks the Jedi killed her sister, and it turns out they didn't.
Yeah. Even so, though, then you still got the rest of the village, including her mother.
Right. I guess we
And
don't
you have
know.
the mystery then of if the Jedi didn't, then why are they so guilty?
Yeah. Certainly interesting question to consider here. Although, like, her plan is basically to go find Kelnacca, turn herself into Kelnacca, and sort of hope to get like reunited with Osha that way. She gets to Kelnacca's hut first because she runs into Bazil, and Bazil lets the Jedi know, oh, she's here. And then, like, they go running after her. She finds Kelnacca's hut first. She goes in, talks to him, and shocker, he's dead, Nick. He has been like basically like sliced through the heart with a lightsaber. So R.I.P. Kelnacca, we barely knew ye.
Very disappointed. I wanted to see at least two arms ripped out of the sockets in this episode.
I might be
I
with the
thought
Flashback
I
Sword.
really thought we were going to see that. Maybe off screen, and then they show him holding the arm. You know what I mean? But because I know they wouldn't show that, but I'm very disappointed.
I might be with the flashback as Force.
Yeah, we could still get that in the flashback. I know there's a scene of him fighting that looks like it's from a flashback, so we could still get that.
It has to be from a flashback because he's dead at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting too when they showed I think back to early episode when they did the briefing at the Jedi Temple with Kiadi Mundi, they put the three masters up here as the target list, and they put Kelnacca on. They did not put Soul on that list as well, which is an interesting choice.
Why was Soul not there?
Maybe because he was just standing in the room. I don't know.
I don't know why they didn't put him in.
It almost seemed like it was like a shock. They're like, "There's only three. You're the fourth." Like we've all known that since the first episode. Why are they like pointing that out?
Yeah, I don't know why they're pointing that out.
That was really weird to me.
It is sort of probably a bad choice that of the three Jedi Masters who May is going after, one is Trinity, so you obviously have to show her in a fight scene. But then between Torben and Kelnacca, you choose to give Torben the big moment, and Kelnacca is just tossed aside. Like I'd rather see the Wookiee Jedi in some fight, and then maybe Torben's the one that the Sith Lord kills, as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah, it may not have been believable that May offs the Wookiee by herself. So maybe the Darth Shark said, she's not going to do it. I have to do it.
Seems like the poison would be the perfect way, right? Think about it, because like she can't overpower him, but maybe she can get into him, in his head.
Right. And clearly he's very disturbed with all the circles that he's drawing on his wall. So yeah.
Yeah.
But also I don't know that she did. My theory is the Sith Lord kills him because he senses or she senses or they sense or whatever that May is not going to do it. And they just want to.
That May's wavering, basically.
Yes. And therefore they come and they eliminate Kelnacca.
Yeah, because while this does seem like May's mission here, Darth Sharpnick is very invested in getting this outcome.
Yeah. Which yeah, go ahead.
That's confusing because it doesn't seem like it's May's mission if he's going to be doing it.
I'd say Max, go ahead.
Maybe he doesn't want to do it. Like maybe he's trying to train May as his disciple, but if she's not going to do it, he still wants to kill the Jedi.
Yeah, I feel like Darth Shark's definitely tied back to the witches on Brandok in some way because I feel like that's the only motivation you have to go after these four otherwise.
Agreed. That's why I think if I had to make a guess, I think the show is leading you to think it's Chimere, but I think it is the mother who survived. Her name escapes me.
Mother Coral.
Yeah, Mother Coral, I think, is who we're dealing with.
Yeah, because I do think that makes sense here, and would also would not be the first time, Max, we've seen the voice modulation in the Sith helmets.
That's true. We've had that for a long time, so it could be Mother Coral. But then you have to wonder, well, it's not like she was a Sith Lord, was she? So, where'd she get the lightsaber? Where did all this come from? Does she have a master?
Maybe that's what episode 7 flashbacks are for. See Mother Coral join up with the bad guys.
I guess we'll find out. There's a lot of speculation. Everyone, I assume a lot of people thought it was going to be Darth Plagueis, right?
We still could get him,
but who knows?
He might be a bit young for this timeline, though. Maybe he's one of the students that Darth Shark is teaching, other than May.
If he's teaching multiple students, though, how's that the rule of 2?
They're not Sith.
They're not Sith. They're acolytes. They say he's training acolytes. He's trying to figure out who's going to be the best Sith.
It's a technicality. I see.
Yeah, it's the rule of 2 would be
you're my apprentice.
Yeah, I train you with the Force, but if I don't like what you're doing, I just off you or I get rid of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Only one gets promoted. There were a bunch of interns.
I guess it's kind of like the Inquisitors in the Empire, but that always to me was a little bit weird too. Because it's aren't there only literally supposed to be 2 Sith Lords? Why are there the Sith apprentices? But I guess that's a technicality. Is they're not really the apprentice; they're just the underlings.
Yeah, pretty much. They're all just interns, and only one gets the full-time job.
Yep. It also gets us nicely to the end of the episode here where they show up, they find Kelnacca. They don't go inside Kelnacca's thing yet, but as they turn around, they see Darth Shark basically levitating himself down to get in front of Osha, turns the lightsaber on, flicks Osha away with the Force, and all the rest of the squad turns on the lightsabers and they charge at him. That's the end of the episode here. And this would lend credence to the Mother Coral theory because she basically, Osha's her daughter, flings Osha out of harm's way and said, I'll deal with these Jedi myself.
Yep.
Or they
Did,
created Osha.
did you guys think when Darth Shark turned the lightsaber on that Osha was dead for a quick second?
You thought this was
I thought she was getting stabbed, and that was going to be it for her. Like, I thought he was going to ignite the lightsaber into her, and then that would be it for her. But no, that didn't happen.
I thought the shot, it was like a little bit to the side of her, so I didn't think she was getting stabbed. But I could see how you could see that from the shot.
As turned on, like before it turned on, I thought that's what was going to happen.
Oh, gotcha. That he was going to kill her.
And once they turned it on, I was like, oh, it's not, in her.
It's the Maul menacing move. It's like, here, lightsaber on.
Yep.
Which
is ridiculous at this point, but
as Nick says, the Sith love to do that. They love to just turn their lightsabers on to look menacing.
Yep.
He does look menacing, or they look menacing. I don't know. What the Darth Shark looks menacing. I mean, the helmet's really cool. Like, he flicks her away, and then all the Jedi charge, and he just pushes them back.
Yeah.
And they have to be very caught off guard because this is the first Sith Lord, in theory, any of them have seen in 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Right? Or
none of them ever seen one.
Right. So that's probably where they're like, holy crap, like this guy has a red lightsaber. We have to stop him.
Immediately.
Yeah. But then the episode ends, which sucks because it's like the most exciting moment.
Yeah, this would have been a good spot to hit next, so we don't have that option yet.
Yes.
All right. So anything else you guys want to add on this episode before we get to the trackers, all the stuff we do at the end of every week?
Did it bother you as much as it bothered the internet that he was flying?
Vader's done that.
It didn't bother me. I don't know.
Palpatine I know in Star Wars Battlefront 2, the original one, if we're getting into the expanded universe, Palpatine had like a levitating force power. So he could float down from places. And so I thought that was a sort of established in the Legends force power, like the levitation.
Yeah.
When did Vader?
I think in a comic book he's done it.
Oh. I thought you were thinking of when he was on the TIE Fighter, and I'm like, well, that was a TIE Fighter,
No, I think it's I read on basically in a comic book he's done it before, and then it's been in the EU stuff like Max mentioned.
Doesn't Count Dooku also levitate in the Clone Wars or something?
Yeah, you're right. Clone Wars 03 he does.
Okay.
Well, is it canon?
That's an EU poll.
Okay. Well, yeah, but that's not the point. Is if it's canon. The point is it's happened before.
It's happened before. It's not a foreign concept.
Right. It's not something that's just like, what is this?
It's not.
Don't forget, Leia did it, of course,
right? It's not Carrie
That is true.
Leia did.
But she was in space, so that's a little bit.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm kind of interested in we know about Force ghosts, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
I'm interested in a Sith ghost. I guess they don't exist because we probably would have met them by now, right?
You would think.
But pretty cool.
So in Clone Wars 08, Yoda sees the spirits of Darth Bane. I thought that's kind of a Sith ghost.
Yeah, that's true.
I think the closest we get is in Rebels in season 2 when they're in the temple, when the Grand Inquisitor's ghost shows up and basically says I'm stuck on this mortal coil, I can't leave because I
remember that.
I am grounded here, I can't go go into become one with the Force because of what I did.
Right. And I know in Legends they have in some of the games or whatever they have Sith spirits like Mark Aragnos is in Jedi, not Jedi Outcast, Jedi Academy.
KOTOR is big on the Sith spirits also.
Yeah. So Nick, you said you hated something about this episode. What was the thing that you really hated?
It was the
fight scene with the bugs.
Oh, it was the bug scene. Okay.
I hated it so much. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that he did something cool and they immediately said, hey, audience, that wasn't cool. Please don't smile.
It's we'll tell you what to like and you're going to like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to our character draft here. So this is prior season, Max. We drafted teams of 3 characters who could appear in the Acolyte here. So here is where the board stands here right now. Nick is on the board because he actually drafted Kiadi Mundi with his last pick. So 1 point for Nick. He also had Yoda and Yaddle. I think we're done with that possibility based on the council not being involved. I got teased the Plo Koon. It's not Plo Koon, so no points for me there. I did take a Darth Revan flashback and Jaro Tapal from the Jedi Survivor games, thinking maybe he's older than he appears. Pete took Plagueis. He took a Dooku ancestor and our favorite pirate Hondo Naka here. So right now, this might be a 1-0-0 win for Nick if this trends this way.
Boy.
Okay. Those are some of these people I would not. I would have probably picked Plagueis and Yoda. Jaro Tapal is a good one. I would have, because there was a droid in and there are a couple of characters in Jedi Survivor that are from the High Republic. So I feel like those are also good safe bets.
Yeah, but I remember at that point, I think what's his name? I think Dagging was sort of stuck in the prison, like in the floating prison on Kobo when the droid was trapped in the temple. So
Yeah, that's true. Well, there's also there's the Dirge species guy, Revis.
Ravis.
I think that was in '89. So I think that maybe they're not. She's not stuck on there yet. But yeah, these are good picks.
Who's Revis?
Revis is the Dirge.
Ravis.
Ravis. The Dirge species guy. I don't remember what.
The guy who had the big fight with on the moon, who like you had to fight like 5 times before you kill him.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah. He was like one of the longest boss fights in the game. That was not spoiler alert Bode.
Yeah, well, not for me because I'm not easy.
Yeah. All right, so let's update our trackers now. Things to keep track of every single week here on the podcast. You got a couple to update here. So, Max, we're keeping track of what lightsaber colors show up the most on the show. So right now we're on a 2-way tie for the top spot. Yellow and green have been seen 4 times each over this series so far. Blue is at 3 and red's at 2.
Okay. There's been a couple of yellow's at 4.
Yeah.
Who is the yellow lightsabers? I know I saw a couple in the last episode.
There were 3 in this episode, and Yord lit his in the first episode.
So yellow like really caught up, but otherwise I assume it was green that was leading.
Yeah, because literally, Nick, I had to stop the scene and count. Okay, which colors are here? Like this is the most important thing for me.
I'm sure.
Yeah. All right, and also I've note here, like Soul's lightsaber counts once per episode. He doesn't get a point for a blue lightsaber every time he lights it.
Yep.
Next up here, we also mentioned here we got
Speaking of the lightsabers,
yeah,
a big criticism from Disney, Star Wars has been that the lightsabers don't look the same anymore.
Yeah.
But this show has completely fixed that.
Yeah.
Completely fixed that. Like in Ahsoka, they didn't look similar and they look great.
Here.
Yes, they look great here.
Yep. So that's another one here. We picked up a couple more named Jedi this week, so we're up to 12. We added in the credits. Identified the guy leading Jackie's team. He has his Master Laksha. He shouts out Dora and Brina, and we met Master Holden. Actually, it should be 13 because I didn't count Kiadi Mundi in there, but like the tracker says 12, but it's really 13.
All right, great.
All right. Max, speaking of EU tie-ins, we definitely got one here because I don't know if you're aware of this. I found this out through some research prior to the podcast. Bazil's species actually originated from a 1979 Han Solo novel that she pulled into the show.
I did not know that. I had never seen his species before in my life, so that's pretty cool. What is his species?
I do not know Nancy's, but they said it is originally appeared in the 1979 novel entitled Han Solo.
That's really cool. Makes you wonder how much is the showrunner doing that as compared to just people who are working on the show. Like, you know, it's no one's fault, but everyone seems to give credit to the runner of it. Like,
well, she said before
there's so many people working on this. You know what I mean?
Well, she said before the season, I am introducing multiple species that have not been seen in Star Wars proper before. So,
well, of course, she's going to say she did it. She's not going to say Jim did it. That's not what Jim is.
I mean, she's just specifically cited like a random Clone Wars episode is one of her favorite Star Wars properties of all time. I think she's very deeply in the lore.
Well, let's see if I can find out more about the species.
It's the Tynan, Tynnnan. They are aquatic sentients from the planet Tyna. And like Mike said, they were created by Brian Daley for his novel Han Solo's Revenge in 1969. Although they were first canonized, they were first canonized in the novel Catalyst, a Rogue One novel.
Yeah,
so,
so
Yep.
but they had not been seen before.
now they've been seen.
Now they've been seen.
All right. Last but not least here, Nick. Canon cameos, Ki-Adi-Mundi lights it up for the first time this season.
Great. That's great.
So we have
I think they're doing out of their way to not show Yoda.
Yeah, I think she said before the season, like, I'm not giving you like the jingle keys, basically.
Yeah, well, it's exactly what they did.
Well, this is the only one in 4 episodes.
Yeah, but it's literally, she said, I'm not giving you the jingle keys. And she literally did that because she put someone in that didn't need to be in and possibly made other things worse just for the sake of putting him in. It's a definition of jingle keys, but okay.
All right, so now let's go to our MVP board. These are the best and worst characters of the season is rated by us here. I will mention also that Pete submitted his picks for these categories, so we'll get to them as we get there. But this is where we stand through 3 episodes of The Acolyte. Soul on the top of the leaderboard at +5. Our only other ones in the positive now are Vernestra and Mother Anase at +1 each. Our zeros, Yord and May. Our negative ones, we have a big bunch here. Kymir, Osha, Jackie, the prison guard, Joy from the premiere, the prison gang from the premiere. That was my pick. Indara last week and Mother Coral last week. So that's our board right now heading into the week here. So, Max, you can start us off here. Who is the MVP of the week?
Of the week or the season?
This week, episode 4.
I think the Master has to be the MVP. We can call him Darth Shark. Because I think that it adds a lot of intrigue for the rest of the season, and it's clear that this person is a very powerful Sith Lord, and it's like definitely the most exciting moment of the series so far. So MVP for me.
Darth Shark seems to be a good pick here. I'm gonna give it to Soul again because I feel like once again Soul seems to be in charge of this thing. He convinces Osha to come along with this. He saves her from the fire site, even though they try to tell you it's not cool. It was cool. And like he does a good job leading the team here and through this mission. So I'll give him Soul the point here. Pete's giving it to Bazil because I'm assuming he did his job accurately. So Bazil gets a point here. And Nick, what are you doing?
I was very close to giving it to Bazil as well. He really was the best character in the episode. I'm not going to give it to him because I know when we look back at the end of the season and we see Bazil +2, and we're like, who is that again? It's probably going to be in 1 episode, and it's just kind of silly. So I'm going to give it to Darth Shark as well. Really makes a strong impression, like the strongest impression you possibly can. So there you go.
All right, LVP section here. So we're gonna have some fun with this one here. I'm giving it to Kymir. I feel like if he's not the Sith Lord, he's doing a very terrible job of like being a sidekick, and he's prying into way too much information for what's going on here. And like, if considering like if Darth Shark is a different person here, and he or she knows that like Kymir's spilling his guts to May, like that's basically asking for a death sentence. Plus, he gets himself caught in a trap, which no one else seems to be able to do on this planet. So LVP to him. Pete gives to May, I'm assuming for the very quick flip flop on her decision making. So Nick's up now.
I'm giving it to Vernestra.
Okay.
Like, I understand we're not telling the council because they'll go to the Senate, but why? Tell them, and they can help, and then the Senate can help, and everyone can help, and you can all have a unified, not hiding stuff. Just tell them. The reason you're not telling them is because they don't want to put Yoda in the show.
Yeah, it's like we don't have the budget for Yoda.
So
I thought it was because it's like the inklings of the Jedi being corrupt, but there are probably a lot better reasons.
That's of course true, and
Yes.
of course true. But like, just tell them.
Yep. All right. So Max, round out the LVP section.
I think May also, probably for the same reason as Pete, that it's just like too quick of a turn. There needed to be more of a bridge between I'm killing Jedi to I want to turn myself into the Jedi.
All right, so May is at a -2 now. She's at the bottom of the LVP board after 2 episodes. She's amazing. She started +2 considering she crushed the premiere in terms of actually getting her job done.
She was very good in the premiere episode. Although I would have picked Indara for the first episode because seeing Trinity in Star Wars was pretty awesome. I know that was the intent, but it was cool.
All right, next up here we go the grades for the episodes on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is worse than 1978 Holiday Special. 10 is out there with the Prison Break episode of Andor with the pinnacle of Star Wars content. Pete gives episode a 4, Nick. So what are you going to do?
I'm going to give it a 6.
Okay.
Think it's exciting and I'm intrigued and I like the action. I was annoyed that they told us not to like the action in the episode, but and I'm very excited to watch the next one. But there's a lot of glaring holes in the episode, and actually change that to a 5.5, if you will,
5.5.
5.5. But it's better than average, like compared to last week. It's really good, but there's a lot of holes.
All right. Max, what's your grade?
I was gonna do a 5, but I'll do a 5.5 also. I think it sets up hopefully the rest of the series really nicely, but most of the episode just felt like dragged out, and I don't know, maybe they could have hastened up the plot a little bit to get to the important parts faster instead of making us wait a week. But I think at least it's setting up the rest of the series for something good, hopefully.
All right. I'm giving this episode a 5 because my comparison to this one is here. Do you guys remember episode 3 of Ahsoka?
Give me more.
It was very short. We spent it was like a 32-minute episode. We had like one fight sequence, and then like we were on the planet, and we said the big stuff is coming next week. This sort of felt like what we did here.
Yeah.
Very similar, but less execution. That's why I gave it a 5. I think that one was higher on the other one.
Pacing's a huge issue. This is like I know everyone is saying this on the internet. Everyone, and they're right. And it's about time that we actually like talk about this. Like they need to be longer.
Yeah.
Like I know we joke around and go, "Oh, only 32." Like no, seriously, make them longer. This is crazy.
Make them longer. Like hurry it up. Like they're trying to cram an hour-long story into 30 minutes.
Sure. Well, yeah, the episodes need to be longer first of all, and they also need to be shorter at the same time because they're basically putting a movie and stretching it into 8 episodes. It's almost like this is just written completely wrong. It's written as a movie, but then put on TV, and they don't know how to split it up. Like
it feels like a Marvel project almost.
I feel like it would be better if it was on network television in the sense that then you are forced to do, let's just say 8 episodes for the sake of argument here, but
42 minutes.
all of these have to be 42 minutes. They have to be. Then you need to figure it out. You can't just do it your way.
Yeah.
I also felt like the last episode, they shouldn't have had an entire episode be a flashback. They should have like spaced out the flashback throughout the entire season. And that way you don't just have this one really boring episode that, I don't know.
I agree in terms of it would make the show better, but I did say last week that I didn't want that because I don't like flashbacks. I'm happy it's behind us.
That's also a fair point.
But I do agree in terms of the show would be better in that way.
Yeah, the problem with if you're going to do an episode like that, we talked about this last week as well, is that the placement is hard because like you have this big premiere, you set all these things up, and then you sort of drop all of them to go back in the past for an entire episode and don't check back on the present at all, which is an odd choice.
Yeah. Especially when like you've barely developed anything in the present and you're doing it as episode 3. Like maybe if it's later in the season, okay, you've had some introduction to the characters, but all of a sudden it's like, oh, just forget everything you knew, and here we're back here.
Like, would you feel better like if we got the flashback after this week's after like whatever happens next week? We did these 2 back to back as episode 5 flashback time.
I think maybe yeah, I think if it came later on and maybe they could do the flashback from like all angles and not just what you think is going to happen, because obviously there's more to the story than just like May kills everybody.
Yeah, we got
later on.
We got the OSHA half of the flashback basically.
Right.
If you're in the Lost Parlance, it's like the Jin and Sun episode where we saw Sun's half. Now we need to see Jin's half.
Yeah. So I think if they did it later on, I would probably be better with it, but I would rather have just been like spaced out over the rest of the series.
All right. So next up here, last thing, episode 5 predictions here. So Nick, what's your predictions for next week?
I really don't know. Initially, I was thinking it was going to be a flashback episode, but since I saw that it's the same director as episode 4, I really highly doubt that. I'm happy also because he left on such a big cliffhanger that's good that won't happen. So my assumption is we pick up right where we left off, literally, and get right into the fight instantly. And that's cool. And maybe we will Maybe they'll have a death. That'd be nice.
So someone you think the Soul Patrol's losing members?
Yeah, maybe someone dies. I don't know who. Maybe it's Yord. Maybe it's the Padawan. I don't know, but it'd be nice. It'd be good to see someone die, which sounds awful, but you know what I mean.
Well, we have 4 extra people we didn't name, so I would be not just talking if like at least 2 of them die in this fight.
Yeah, even that would be good.
Yeah, maybe our fake Plo Koon character.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, they made it very clear on social media that's not Plo Koon. They think, oh, this character does not have plot armor. They might die.
Yeah,
Max,
that'd be cool.
what do you think?
Me?
Yeah,
I think either Yord or Jeki is killed by the Sith Lord. I would say Soul, but I think he's around for the rest of the season. And I think in order to make it more impactful as to how powerful the Sith Lord is, how powerful Darth Shark is, he has to kill one of the 2 characters that we actually care about.
okay, so and you're in agreement. I think I'm in agreement with you guys on terms of someone's dying and the fight's a big part of the episode here. And I think here I have one more prediction here. This is something I've never done before. And Nick, do you have an idea what I'm going to do?
No, I have no idea.
I'm going to give you the episode title.
Oh, I think we all know that one, right?
Yeah, I mean, none of you claimed it. This is going to be called Night.
Yeah, I am with you on that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they made it very obvious, especially with Kymer going like the day's almost over.
Yeah.
We end with the day being over.
Yeah.
The only thing that I feel like maybe someone else needs to show up because, like, how many Jedi are there?
7.
7 plus Osha and May.
Yeah, I mean May's hiding in the hut. Last we saw.
Right. But there's 7 Jedi. There's Osha. There's May, and there's the little beaver guy. What's his name again?
Oh, Bazil,
So there's 11 people total, including the Sith, right?
including Darth Shark.
Okay, it's probably what 9 on 1-on-1.
I would say Bazil sits out.
Okay, so 8 on 1-on-1. You gotta make it somewhat believable. You can't just have him kill 3 of them, then run away. Like someone's got to show up, or something's got to happen here. Oh, Chimere's there too. I forgot about him.
Well, like most of the people that are with
Assuming
in the
he's not in
Soul
the mask.
Patrol are Padawans, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem believable.
It wouldn't seem believable if they couldn't take out the Sith Lord.
It wouldn't seem not that it wouldn't seem believable if he just goes and kills like 5 of them and then just leaves.
Oh,
We did see Palpatine try and do this in Revenge of the Sith, where he kills 3 people.
He got 4. He got 4, and he only got 3. Are you telling me this guy's gonna get 9?
yeah, but he took out. So Palpatine took out 3 Jedi Masters and had help with a 4th one. This guy is facing 1 Jedi Master, 1 Knight, and a couple of Padawans.
The skill level might not be as high.
And it just seems a little crazy to me. Like I don't know, how are you gonna do a whole episode? Something needs to happen because it can't just be we're gonna fight and he's gonna win. Like what?
I do get what you're saying though, that if Darth Shark is killing the entire Soul Patrol, then what's the rest of the series? Like, where's everyone else go?
I feel like it's going to be a situation where he like kills 2 of them immediately, and then like they're chasing him the rest of the time.
Or like the Jedi come in, or maybe he takes May and Osha or something like that.
Yeah, and I'm going on the assumption that Kymer is not under the mask, so I think Kymer could also be like he helps like with subterfuge in some way. Because remember, he did say he owes Darth Shark a favor.
Who knows?
All right, we will find out next week here. And Nick, programming note for the audience here: we usually put these out on Wednesday night. You're recording on Thursday next week due to scheduling conflict, so Thursday night, look for the episode here. Do not unsubscribe if it's not there on Wednesday night.
I didn't even know that. So let me write that down.
Yeah. So Thursday night next weekend. Max, once again, thanks for coming on here. I really appreciate the insights.
Yeah, happy to be here to talk Acolyte. Hopefully on to bigger and better things with this show.
Yep, let's see. That's for sure here. And Nick, one more time, people want to follow us on social media. How can they do that?
You can follow at Sky Guys Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, Threads, and TikTok.
Okay, you can also follow me on social media, mphillips331. It's MPHILIPS331. This week over on the Just on the Suffering podcast, I had a chance to chat with Sam Lucchini from Fireside Yankees. Talk some Yankee baseball, Nick.
I'm watching the game as we record. I'm very disappointed.
What is the score of this game as you record?
They're losing 4-1. That's not why I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed because they brought Garrett Cole up the pitch and then let him go 4 innings and then pulled him in the bullpen, blew it. If he can only go 4 innings, he's not ready to pitch.
Yeah, he threw 62 pitches tonight.
Then he's not ready to pitch.
Yeah, I think they panicked because the Orioles were coming in.
And the other guy got hurt too.
Oh, cool, Clark Schmidt.
No, the one who replaced Clark Schmidt. Podol, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Oteet.
Yeah, him.
Yeah. All right, so that's going on just in the suffering this week. So we'll be back next week with another episode of the Acolyte. Pete will be back next week. We have another guest coming in as well. But until then, may the force be with you.